as a black conservative, I've been labeled everything from a white supremacist or an agent of white supremacy to a sellout, a Tom. I mean, I've damn near been called everything up out of my name by some individuals in my DMs on Instagram. Y'all know who y'all are, but I'll be honest, I've come to a place where I'm okay with these labels. And one of those labels that for some reason seem to show up every single time, especially when dealing with somebody who was in opposition to my political views, my political stance, somebody who is genuinely trying to understand how can a black man not be a Democrat, or at least how can a black man be a conservative or a Republican? Now, obviously, hindsight is 2020, and therefore I have an understanding that a person asking that question is very ignorant of American history, if not just history in general, right? To think that black folks were always Democrats is to not understand 99% of history. As a matter of fact, 100% of history. Because if you did, there is no way you would subscribe yourself to the Democratic plantation. But that being said, one of the titles that continued to show up from these sorts of individuals was the self-hating growing knee. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You are a self-hating Negro. That's what I have been labeled over and over again. For some reason, they can't register in their minds that a black man can think for himself, but instead it must be coming from a place of self-hatred. Surely there is no way these are your actual beliefs without somebody outside of you either forcing them, somebody paying for them. Some people have accused me of being paid by certain groups or whatever it is. I mean, I've been paid. It's just I've been paid the same way any other YouTubers paid, which is through ad revenue. Not gotten a single dime from any type of sponsor, but if you got money for me, let's get into conversation. But what I've come to see is that this label of self-hating comes from those who cannot separate themselves from this idea that a black person is therefore a Democrat, that to be black means to be on that Democratic plantation. They cannot separate it. And so when I saw this clip, it just brought back some real fond memories of the last few months since I've come out of the conservative closet, at least in a public way, not just to the ones in my immediate circle, family, etc., but to the greater public. And, some of the back and forth that I've had. So shout out to our brother, Jesse Lee Peterson, Beta. That's our guy right there. Let's get into it. We're just gonna kick back and have a good time and just reminisce. A lot of y'all have probably had the very same experiences I had, which is being labeled by those who think they have it all down, who somehow feel as if they are the moral superior and therefore they have the right to call you up out of your name always till Tuesday, just because they lack the understanding that they themselves are actually given over, to the very devil that they subscribe to you. So let's get into it.
So you're basically a self-hating
What?
Oh, she got right into that. She got right into, okay. All right.
That's who you are, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like you hate yourself.
No, why do you say that?
Well, if you're about to start talking to me about quote unquote black and on black crime, I'm going to roll my eyes.
They hate that conversation, don't they? They hate to have a conversation outside of what's the white man doing to the black man. God forbid we break out the actual statistics, which I'm going to do in a video to come, where I'm going to go through all of the statistics, every single stat line on what it actually looks like in reality, as opposed to through propaganda's eyes or the propaganda machine. Black on white versus the white on black conversation. And the only reason I bring it up is because these people, They seem to be the moral superior on these subjects. They don't bring up the reality that you are more than 4 to 5 times more likely to have your life taken as a white person by a black person than vice versa. Again, this is coming from a black man, and you think I'm self-hating for saying that? Then you must hate the truth. And you must hate the fact that it is coming from a source, that doesn't necessarily fit the agenda that you've set out for yourself, or at least that you've allowed yourself to be programmed into. But I'm going to say it as it is. These are the facts. So, yeah, we're going to continue to let sis cook over here till she burns the entire meal.
Hope that one day, God blesses your heart, yours specifically.
Where is all your hostility coming from? Why are you so angry?
Am I angry? Are you angry?
You don't see that you have an attitude right now?
Do I have an attitude?
No, I
I
said, do
haven't
you
called you any
see?
names. So you're basically
Self-hating, growing knee.
a self-hating hero. There's this little thing that we like to do in the South, and it's called politeness. It's called etiquette. So
They are always so condescending. Like there's just this spirit about they're the types of people you just don't want to be around in general. I can be around folks who don't agree with me when it comes to religion, when it comes to political stances, political views. I mean, political party affiliations. I've done that my entire life. I might have disagreed with you. I might have thought you were dead ass wrong, especially when I was on the left and you're a Republican. I mean, it was a little harder for me to be friends genuinely with Republicans because I was so ignorant. But now on the other side of the aisle, I'm more than open to be cool with people who believe in completely different viewpoints. Maybe I don't want to, involve myself with you romantically or involve myself with you in different ways that are, foundational, fundamental. I'm actually building with you in that sort of way, but I can be friendly with you. But for some reason, they always have this air about them. That's why I say there's this belief that they are the moral superior. They're always looking to teach you, like you need to learn because you are uneducated. That's why they use terms like that. It's terms of condescension. They want to put themselves above you, and I'm not talking about just teaching for teaching's sake. I look to do that on this channel to create awareness or whatever it is, have a good time as well as educate. But I still understand that I'm faulty. I'm a human. I can be wrong on a lot of things. I have opinions. I have prejudices. I have programming. I have conditioning that's taken place at the very same time as everything else. And it's my job to make sure I address those things. But also when I'm faced with the facts, when I'm faced with reality and what it is, as much as I may not like the answer, I got to look into it. That's the promise that me and God have between us is that I'm going to, at the very least, I'm going to look into that truth. I may not like it. Damn it, it might take me a little bit to finally articulate it and to speak out publicly. I mean, even when it comes to my conservatism, quote unquote, right? Making that decision that, wait a minute, I actually align more with these values. I actually align more with this. Wait, this is the true historic, context of things. Educating myself, reading on these things. Not just going through social media and taking, other people's opinions for it. Historians, individuals who have done the due diligence and done the work of putting this information together, and then also using my own common sense, my logic, using my ability to reason. I've gone through all these processes, and sometimes it's still difficult, but I do my best. But these individuals here, these people, they can't do it. These people don't have the ability because when it's a cult ideology, right? The woke ideology is a cult ideology. The left or the Democratic plantation has become the hub of wokeness. And so they basically view themselves as already correct in the same way a cult or an individual given over to a cult does. You can't hear any new information. Anything that contradicts is an enemy idea to you. For me, again, there are some ideas I don't like, some things that don't resonate with my own programming and conditioning. But when I hear something and it registers and it resonates, at the very least, I got to hear it out. Ideas are not the enemy. What the enemy is when I take in a faulty idea and I make it religion for myself and I can't break apart from it. That's why no matter what is said and done, if, the man that I voted into office, the woman that I voted into office is effing up in a real way, I'm going to call those things out. I will let them play out at first, but then, I will call those things out. I'll call certain behaviors out. But again, they jump directly to the insults, directly to calling you out your name, directly to you must hate your mama. You must be self-hating. You hate what you see in the mirror. I actually happen to love what I see in the mirror because I don't see myself as a black man. I see myself as a man who happens to also be black amongst many other things that make me who I am. But most importantly, I'm a child of God. Most importantly, I am a human being. I am a spirit having a human experience. Most importantly, I am a creator. I am a communicator, a messenger. I am also black, and I'm happy about every single aspect of who I am. I'm thankful that I am the way that I am, the way that I've been created. I've learned to love myself in many different ways. But that still does not define me, and therefore it's not a chokehold on me. It's not something that keeps me bound.
So if I meet you for the first time, it's really quite rude and makes me look bad if I insult you the very first time I meet you.
Says the exact person. And again, I know we're not seeing some of this video, whatever. Who knows what Jesse said? Jesse could say some things. I think he's damn right hilarious. And most importantly, he is a truth teller. He's a very simple man, but he says it as he sees it. He calls it exactly how he sees it. And yeah, this just so happens to be an individual that he's used to dealing with, which is, can't tell them nothing. Eye rollingness, neck poppingness, attitude havingness. Nobody can tell them anything. They have the inability, it's called pride, the inability to accept new information, and it is very dangerous. It indeed comes before the fall. So let's play this through one more time.
So you're basically a self-hating.
Duh.
That's who you are, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like you hate yourself.
No, why do you say that?
Well, if you're about to start talking to me about quote unquote black and on black crime, I'm going to roll my eyes and hope that one day, God blesses your heart.
That's the only argument she had for him bringing up black on black crime. She had no argument technically. She just went to deflect. She went to turning it on him, project, as a narcissist tends to do. She couldn't face the fact to say, you know what? Here are the actual stats. Here is the real information. Here's the truth of what's actually taking place. She couldn't do that. Not because she wasn't willing, but because, again, when you're programmed like this, when you're so deeply entrenched in an ideology that it becomes a cult for you, that it becomes the identity, anything that does not resonate with it, you won't accept as information. You just simply can't take it. If you wake up one day to realize that, it was actually, let's say if you wake up one day and you realize that it was actually white on black violence or black on white violence that's been taking place and black officers are taking white people's lives, which again, that's not statistically accurate as well. But let's say that was a reality. For this person, they would not be able to accept it. Therefore, they would have to create some sort of straw man argument, or more likely than not, they would just pretend it's not happening and they would look to deflect continuously. When you are the quote unquote self-hating black person, or when you're labeled that, in more cases than not, what they're really meaning to say is you're the self-thinking black person. You think for yourself. How dare you deviate from the tribe? How dare you deviate from the group, from the herd, and our own mentality? And when you no longer have this incessant need for external validation, it's a beautiful thing. Then you're able to live life on this other side. You no longer need to have the group validating your thought process. You can think for yourself and move accordingly. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then, to hell with it. But the truth is always going to be the truth. So yeah, I'm going to make sure to get y'all that video on the real stats, because I'm sick and tired of having the same dumb argument. And I say dumb argument because there is no intelligence in it. When you're disingenuous, when it is rooted in a lie, then what is the point? What's the purpose of having that discussion in the first place? Simple. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. But I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.